This is congratulations, you get to be gods. Humanity has always wanted to be God, so you made that choice and you accomplished the mission, and you are gods over this earth today. That's because you made changes to the world that enforce the fact that if your changes are going to control our extinction. Your changes are going to decide whether we live or die as a world. Your changes are your humanity. And of course, it starts with the university and their claim that there is no consequences to what we do. We want what we want, and that's all there is to it. There is no consequence to the university. So we're going to look at the cost of what no want means. And this is a simple statement. It says 8.2 billion people live on this earth. That's the current statistic. And if we take 1% of those, just 1% of those, that means one more child born over deaths per 100 people, or 10 more children born in this year per 1,000 people. That's 1%. The end result of that is that 82 million more children are born than people have died. So there are 82 million more at 1% to be fed, to be housed, to need water and resources and everything. So that means 82 nations have to make room for 1 million more people per year. And that, of course, means that, every resource will be attacked and all the garbage that requires and sewage and so on. And all the water that needs. Everybody needs water. Everybody. So you don't get to avoid the reality of what you have done. Overpopulation is a real thing. Just 1.2% means that you've increased the population of this earth by 100 million new mouths to feed per year. And that means that 100 nations have to make room for 1 million more people each year. That means 100 million more arrived this year, 100 million more arrived last year, 100 million more arrived the year coming. And of course, even if you stopped having children right now, there are still all the people, 9 months from now will produce all the children that are coming. And they grow. And they need more each and every year. So even if there were no child born over deaths for the next 10 years, there will still be an increase in consumption, an increased need for water, an increased need for everything, because that's just the reality of it. And of course, the universities will do what they always do, and so do governments, which are controlled by university. They'll have focus groups, which simply decide that we'll talk about it. And that's all the bother they get. No infrastructure, no nothing. They'll talk about it. And they'll talk, 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 and they'll talk. But it won't do any good, because talking isn't going to change any reality. So, water resources are a constant need. And the cost of more humans and more humans and more humans is that water resources will end, as is happening in Mexico City. 22 million people running out of water. No small thing. And of course, no water means that 3 days from now you're going to be dead, or so diminished that you can't survive for another day. So there will be war, very, very violent war, because there's not enough water for us, and if you don't get water, you die. So there will be war, extremely violent war. And as the biblical prediction goes, blood running through the streets like rivers. Because that's just the reality of what you did do. You're gods, of course. Just like the university promised. No consequences to you. Except, of course, reality will prove that there are consequences to you. And an aquifer that is completely sucked dry, or even almost sucked dry, simply collapses onto itself and becomes a rock that you can't fill back up. So the aquifers end. And people are have no clue about what they do. I live in farming country, and they tile over the ground enormously bad by university decree, and forget the aquifer even exists. Yet without water, we all die. And so on. Every resource, everything that is required for human life to keep on going. So let's look at the next real critical matter. And there are so many, but this one is important. 1 gallon of gas requires the oxygen that 30 people or so need in a 24-hour period. So if you burn a gallon of gas in your vehicle to go down the highway, you burn the amount of oxygen, or use the amount of air that 30 people will need to consume for themselves to survive for a 24-hour period. So every gallon is 30 people for a day. And of course then there's other life too. And we burn the amount of gas per year that 150, or we create the BTUs per year by fossil fuel burning, that 150 billion people need for a day. Think about that for a minute. Oxygen is a finite resource. It's not something that the trees make. It's not something the oceans release. It's not something that bacteria, produce. It is an atomic element, and that means it's an atom of a specific size and type and a specific concentration of energy. And when you use oxygen, it doesn't entirely go away, but the energy concentration of it goes down. And that allows for different things to form, such as carbon dioxide or greenhouse gases, which are, of course, a problem, but they're a problem only because of the fossil fuel that we burn. So we are the people that are responsible for greenhouse gases, and there is no other. And that's just the facts of life. It's not something that you can avoid. It's not something you can just decide doesn't matter. It is the reality of our lives, and the concentration of oxygen is the important part. We need a specific amount of oxygen in our lungs, a persistent percentage of oxygen in our lungs, or it's like going to the top of a mountain, and although there's oxygen there, you can't really survive it. So, consuming the oxygen off of this planet, which is a finite resource on this planet, which means that the oxygen is released, it's not made, it's released. And when it's released, it is used, and then it's reused. It loses its energy concentration, and we require more of it to survive, if that would in fact actually work. So every degree of temperature you turn up in your house, if you have a 1,000-foot house, that's basically, let's just call it a 33 by 33 or something square, 30 feet by 34 feet or whatever it is, house. That's not a big house in a lot of people's mind. But at every degree you raise the temperature, or to raise the temperature 1 degree in that house, in that 1,000 square feet, it's 8,000 cubic feet, requires 4 gallons of gas. So every degree you raise it up takes the amount of air that 120 people need for a day, every degree. So it does matter what you do, and it does matter how many degrees you actually use in your house. And, that's the energy equivalent of all things. And, of course, all solar panel and wind panel, that's about 13% in this USA of actual energy generated. So the idea that you're not doing anything, you're having a electric car or whatever, is absolutely useless, because the least efficient method of generating electricity is used to create the energy you need. You don't get a single watt of energy for your electric car from solar power. Not a single watt. It all comes from the excess, the excess solar power goes to primary sources first, and you have to use coal-fired or gas-fired to create the rest. And unfortunately, coal fire needs an oxygen content of about 5 to 1 to burn efficiently, whereas natural gas needs almost 20 to 1 oxygen, 20 times more or 4 times more oxygen than coal does to burn efficiently. And although natural gas has less pollution, it requires a lot more oxygen. So you have to choose your gods, of course. You have to choose which one is worse for you. And of course, there are consequences to each. So, the university solution to that is fusion. They're going to create fusion. They're going to have the same power as is on the sun, the same fire that's on the sun here. They're going to control it. They're gods, of course. They're going to control it so we don't have to have carbon dioxide, and we can have as much heat as we want and all of that. This is just a picture of the sun. It's not a hot core, or the whole sun would dissolve in a very big hurry, and of course it lasts a very long time, which means it's an atomic power because it's atomic energy that runs it. And these are supposed to model million-mile-long flames. Burns your skin from 94 million miles away. Think about that. Burns your skin from 94 million miles away with radiation levels up close that would just simply melt you in an instant. So they're going to release that here. That's their claim. That's the university solution. And when asked how are you going to control the fire, they say simply that there's not enough gravity here, so the fire will just extinguish itself, so they don't have any consequences. I can do whatever they want. But of course they can't. Ignition here means at the end of the earth. You ignited the same fires on the sun. Why does that not ring a bell to you? And if I said to you that that everything that the university does is just chaos, is just has no thought to it at all, you would scream and yell and offer the idea that there is absolute thought in everything that the universities do. They a lot of millions of hours and millions of people doing these things, and they've been thinking, and this is the result of their intellect. It has nothing to do with chaos. But the very same people say that evolution is the cause or the creator of life on Earth, and they say that evolution is chaos. Evolution is chaos, or just an accident. And yet, everything about life is created by thought. There isn't anything about this body or your body or any other living thing on Earth that is not developed critically by thought. Every part and every piece and everything about you is created by thought. There is no chaos in it, because that's what it takes to make you alive. And there isn't any doubt, there isn't any purpose, there isn't anything other than the fact that it's thought. Thought came before the chicken or the egg. Because without thinking, you can't build anything. And without building, without truth, you can't, nothing survives. There is nothing about this world of living things, of nature, that is not created by thought. And of course the universe says that we don't have to worry about that, because evolution says everything is made with chaos, so we can inject chaos into everything. Every genetic nature made is being invaded by chaos, because that's what university does. Everything. Your entire existence is now dependent upon how soon the universities will hit the magic moment when the order and disciplines of nature fall apart. So we have endless amounts of tragedy coming because of your decision that I can have whatever I want. And the reality that no, you can't have whatever you want. No, you can't decide that nature is just chaos. No, you can't decide that you can ignite the same fire here as is on the sun. No, you can't just imagine that water will come out of anything, and you can't run out of water. And you can't imagine that there will be no moment when people don't use weapons of mass destruction. And no, there is no critical thought when the population of this planet will not end life on Earth.